War has come to Middle-earth.
This is the work of Sauron.
Hi, Charlie. Charles,
Hi.
pleasure to meet you. My name is Sudhir. I'm a South Indian film critic. Maybe to get things started with you, you play Celebrimbor.
Yes.
And while seeing him, it felt like I suddenly thought of Oppenheimer for some reason, because it
yes.
seems like he creates a lot of things, but he's not quite aware of the repercussions of them.
I think that's fair,
Yeah. How did you see this constant question with morality that creators often have?
Well, very much in that way, without adding the Oppenheimer label to it, which I have heard since, and yes, I like it.
Yeah.
It's for me, he's sort of been chasing his tail for years and feeling frustrated by his own, even though he is highly creative and highly admired, none of that is enough for him.
Yeah.
And he does want to contribute in some way to the world, to Middle-earth, and to create something that's going to change. I think it's change men's hearts. I can't remember the exact quote, but he wants to strike deep into the souls of the world, into the soul of the world with whatever it is he creates. But he hasn't yet found.
And that's always a question, isn't it? With anybody who creates incredible things.
Yeah.
They may be beautiful, but to what end?
Exactly, and that's Tolkien's great point about the elves being dipping their toes too deep into industry, into creation. Tolkien's very wary of that, and Celebrimbor is kind of the banner for that.
You can see how that's a commentary on humanity in general as
Totally,
well.
yeah.
What of the rings? Have they worked?
You do better to ask her.
She is not here. You are.
Charlie, you play Sauron, of course. And I have to say, I've always been personally more invested in villain journeys than hero journeys, truth be told. I think largely that's because they feel a bit more honest. And they seem a bit more revealing of human frailties.
Yes, very good.
Yeah, I think that's really insightful. I think I'm kind of the same. Yeah, there is a lot of complexity in Sauron. Like I think I had to go into this with the understanding that he is the villain of the story, right? And Tolkien was pretty clear saying he's the villain, but he has this level of complexity where he thinks he's his own hero, right? He thinks he's doing right by Middle-earth. He's trying to reorder it, make it a better place, heal it. Tolkien wrote of Sauron having this desire to heal, and he loved everything to be ordered and unified.
To be managed.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's where I approached it, and it made the character really interesting rather than just labeling him as a villain. And I think there is something fun from an audience perspective it's fun from an audience perspective because you're trying to, I think, you're watching a character do bad things.
True.
But you're kind of rooting for him.
It might have been easier for you in the first season because as Halbrand, he feels a bit more humanized. But now it feels like something about your eyes have changed. In the second season, now you're a bit more evidently manipulative, a bit more evidently evil, and it's harder to root for you now. In the second season.
I think that's good. I think that's a good point. I think I guess I tried to, in developing, and I mean, as Anatar, literally I have different eyes in. I wear contact lenses. But there was some things I was playing with ideas with Halbrand of how he's showing more of what he's been through. But it's also the audience's perspective. Now that we know he's Sauron, we just automatically see him in a different light, you know? Because you're in on it with him. And I think that's quite a fun place to be. Yeah.
Charles, as an artist, do you understand the restlessness of Celebrimbor to try and keep creating something?
Oh, yeah.
To be driven by the restlessness of, it's been a while since I did something meaningful.
Oh, God, yeah. Absolutely. Very much so. In all kinds of ways, after a while of doing filming, I've got to do a play, because I'm a theatre actor as well. I like to work in theatre. And, and I did that this year, exactly that process. I was going, no, I've got to do a play. So I found a play and I did it, and I was satisfied with that. And then once I finished the play, I was right, I've got to find,
another one.
It's always that. But that's part of the journey.
When do you really? I mean, do you savor the little things that you do when you've done them?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Are you already looking forward to the next one?
You do savor.
You
And
do?
those are the great moments when you say and you look back. It's like when we watch our screenings and trailers. Those are the moments of savouring not just what I've done, but what we've all done with this show. And it's different in theatre, obviously, because theatre is so ephemeral; it just floats away. But with something like this, it's it's there for us all to see, and it's those are the very savourable moments.
Yeah, and with both of your characters, it seems like there's a very thin line between good and evil, and you sort of understand that with both characters. Just the smaller decisions, if you're taken it this way, then suddenly you become a hero. Otherwise, then you become a sort of a villain. Those small threads. Do you see any ostensible way in which Sauron could well have become a hero? Do you think?
I think there is a set of circumstances that maybe he would have. It's interesting because Tolkien writes a lot of Sauron. He talks about Sauron's repentant phase, where he went through this stage at the beginning of the Second Age, where he could have been good. But it's
like some of those conversations you have with Galadriel in the first season.
Yeah.
It seems like maybe you're on a different path and you're convinced. It seems like briefly you're convinced to do something else.
Yeah, there is a possibility of that. And I think it's ambiguous, but you can definitely view it in a way that makes you think, he could have joined her and changed. But there's also some individuals.
Changed her now.
Yeah, exactly. There's people in this universe. Maybe there are some, and Sauron might be one that is too far gone to be good.
I've had many names. Sauron lives because of you!
You know, sometimes when actors play villains, it's important for them to humanize them, to understand their motivations, to see them as not evil characters, fundamentally. But with Sauron, is it pretty difficult?
It's tricky because you can't humanize him because he's not a human, right?
True.
He's a god.
Yeah.
But I think we're all humans. We're humans when we watch it. So we can only understand what we understand as humans. And I can only bring to him my experience as a human. So I think we all humanize him without even trying.
Yeah, rather difficult for a human to play a non-human.
Yeah, and I think I have to approach from the place of why does he do what he does, and if he thinks he's being good.
What would you say? Is there one redemptive quality that you see?
Yeah, that he thinks he's doing right by Middle Earth. He thinks what he is doing will ultimately benefit not only just you but everyone else.
As a final question, Charlie Charles, would you mind, could you speak about your favorite fantasy villain? And maybe slightly elaborate on why that is.
Well, what's stuck in my head is, you mentioned the other day, the
child catcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
I can't stop thinking about him now. Remember the child catcher in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang? I think in terms of a villain that struck fear into the soul of as obviously he was intended to, you can't beat that. Because even now you remember it and
terrifying,
and it is still terrifying. I mean, obviously the performance, but the look of him, the lank hair hanging over the scalp, the net, his ice cream, and his little truck. With the music playing, his dance, that little dance that he did.
And then he pulls the rope, and the truck opens up, and it's just a cave.
And then he just goes,
ice creams,
lollipops,
terrifying.
All free today.
He would be it for me as well.
Yeah.
I also like Mr. Freeze in Batman.
Of course. Okay.
Yeah.
I think for me in recent times, probably Thanos.
Thanos.
I think they managed to humanize him sufficiently and probably get you rooting for his motivations as well. Because he's not out for himself, right? There's something selfless about what he's looking.
I think it's really interesting and important that there are motivations, because otherwise it is, as Charlie says, just a villain.
Yeah, I want to do bad things. I want to control you.
Yeah.
Great conversation. Thank you so much for
that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.